they can watch it later. Okay.
Sure.
We are thrilled to have you with us. And this session is part of our ongoing efforts to highlight innovation, inclusion, and leadership in the maritime and logistics sectors, especially as we navigate the challenges and opportunities of digital transformation. For those that are joining us for the first time, I would like to share some brief information regarding WISTA. WISTA is the Women International Shipping and Trading Association. It's a global network with over 5,000 members across 59 countries. Our mission is to support and empower women in the maritime, logistic, and international trade industries. WISTA as standing committees help drive the organization mission by focusing on key issues in shipping, trade, and transport. Each committee includes one member from each national WISTA association and one appointed by the WISTA International President, ensuring by this way global representation and inclusive decision-making. All committees follow the official working committee protocol that you can check in our website. The Technology Committee, which I will belong as representing WISTA Argentina, works to amplify WISTA voice in the digital transition. I don't know if it's right now with us, our co-chair and chair. Let me check. Lina, if you are here, right? Because they're hello, Lina. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, Guadalupe. And hi, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. It's evening here in where I am now. Actually, I'm in Malaysia. I cross over next to Singapore. I'm originally in Singapore, based in Singapore, but I crossed over last night because I have a conference to attend tomorrow in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur. Welcome everyone, and thanks for joining. We have very established speaker, Pamela Mar and Tianmi Stilphen. Both of them are coming from very prestigious background, here to share their expertise. And I personally thank Guadalupe for working on this webinar day and night for the past couple of weeks, and even taking a lot of roles and help away from me and Tianmi as well to put this up together. And to the rest of you, thanks for supporting WISTA and joining the webinar, and I hope you enjoy yourself. Thank you. Over to you, Guadalupe.
Thank you, Lina. Thank you for your words. And okay, I think that is time to introduce myself. My name is Guadalupe Ojeda, and I am honored to moderate today's session. I bring over 25 years of experience in maritime transport, project development, and commercial leadership. I hold a degree in international relations and foundation diploma in logistic and multimodal transport from the Institute of Chartered Shipbrokers, awarded through a WISTA International Scholarship. I currently serve as a Deputy General Manager at the Evergreen Shipping Agency Argentina, and have been an active member of WISTA for more than 8 years, advocating for gender inclusion and professional development in our industry. Okay, so we are really privileged to be joined today by two outstanding leaders from the International Chambers of Commerce Digital Standard Initiative. Today I are going to speak with us Pamela Mar. She's Managing Director of the Digital Standard Initiative based in Singapore, with over 20 years of global experience in sustainability, technology, and supply chain policy. Pamela leads efforts to harmonize digital standards and drive global trade digitalization. And also will join us today Tianmi Stilphen, Lead of Regulatory Affairs and Legal Reform at the DCI, with a background in U.S. law and policy, including roles at the Department of Justice and U.S. Congress. Tianmi brings deep expertise in telecom, media, and technology law to the digital trade space. Without further ado, Pamela, Tianmi, the floor is yours.
Super. So I've actually just asked Tianmi to add one slide to the deck. So just giving her some last minute stress. So while she does that and while she uploads the deck, I'm just going to introduce to you what is the ICC Digital Standards Initiative. So hopefully you've heard of ICC. So ICC is basically a chamber of chambers. We are the global membership organization of like 1,500 chambers of commerce in the world. And the total number of businesses represented in the chambers is like 45 million. So ICC is actually the official designate to the WTO, World Customs Organization, United Nations, and so on. So whenever they want, what does business think? They come to ICC. And so we've got a lot of official roles, like we give input to the customs organization, into the data model. You know, whenever they're going to update something, they always include us in the consultation because they need to make sure that it works for business. Now,
sorry, Pamela, you want me to show your presentation?
Not yet, not yet.
Okay.
Tianmi is going to load it up when she's all set.
Go ahead.
Why is ICC involved in trade at all? So ICC is the global chambers of commerce, are the ones who originally issued certificates of origin and also ATA carnets and so on. So that was the beginning of ICC's work in trade. And then over the years, we've gathered a lot of expertise in standards and policy and so on. So when, you know, after technology started exploding a lot and advancing, it was really clear that, you know, trade needs to digitalize. Why are we still using paper, ledgers, stamps, and so on, and signatures, and like wet ink signatures? So we thought, okay, there's an opportunity to really transition the world into a digital trade, except that there were a lot of problems, like countries' legal systems aren't accepting of digitalized negotiable instruments like trade documents like EBL. There's a lot of issues with standards, right? So different standards, different documentary standards, nothing aligns. There's issues with platforms in that most platforms are closed. You can't take your data out because like the data formats are wrong. And so ICC said, okay, if we try to solve all these problems individually in different silos, like if the shippers work with the shippers, the manufacturers work with the manufacturers, the end-to-end won't work still. So in all of the initiatives to kind of standardize global trade, ICC decided, okay, well, we got to make this a public-private effort that goes end-to-end in the supply chain. And only one organization can do that, which is the one who actually covers all business. So that's why ICC launched the Digital Standards Initiative. And so DSI, you know, we're supported. If you can go to the next slide, Tianmi. So our goal is accelerate, you know, digital trade, but don't just do it through, you know, being an advocate talking. Focus on three major problems. One, legal, right? Make it legal to use digitalized document. Two, standards. Three, solve the problem of trusted networks. In that today, we only trust information from networks that we know, closed networks usually. In the ideal world, we should be able to trust data that comes in from anywhere, so long as it's tagged, so long as it's marked as trustable. So those are the three problems that ICC's DSI is supposed to solve. We actually will have one more member of the board. So this is at the bottom of the slide is my board. The World Bank will be joining because we've just signed an MOU so that the World Bank is getting behind this initiative. Next slide. So we work through a lot of private and public organizations. We don't just like make up the standards by ourselves. We actually go out and we consult with all the standards bodies, all the industry bodies, everyone who's got a role in the supply chain, whether you're a practitioner or like a lawyer or a service provider or even a development bank, which is working on trade facilitation, or UN SCAP. So we work with everybody because we're one big inclusive platform and we want to make changes in the world trading system that can actually be implemented. And we don't want to create new stuff. We only want to create new stuff where there's nothing existing before. And that's what we've done with our reliability assessment, which I'll tell you about later. The next slide. So this is the roadmap. Like I said, we have a very focused approach: standards, trust, legal, and then we build capacity across the developing world. Next slide. So what have we done? If you can go to the next slide. Okay, so what have we done about standards? So we actually mapped all 36 key trade documents. We identified core data elements which need to flow. So what is a core data element? It's something that needs to be shared more than twice. So if you think about a trade document, there's usually two parties, right? And we think that a data should flow down and up and down the supply chain beyond those two parties. And the reason that trade is slow is because beyond the two parties, data needs to be rechecked at every point. So there's a lot of data that's shared, but today there's no mechanism to ensure that it can be trusted from the get-go. So we basically created what we call the Key Trade Documents and Data Elements Framework, the KTDDE, which basically brings together all of the digital documentary standards and aligns them up with using data to achieve interoperability. We're not saying that like the PEPAL invoice and the OASIS invoice, the electronic versions, are going to interoperate. No, their data elements are going to interoperate. That's how we're going to create alignment. And all of this is available on our website, which is a collaborative partnership with UN SCAP. And it's www.digitalizetrade.org, digitalize with a Z. Next slide. So like I said, we don't want to create new standards, but where there is a white space in the market and where progress is being held up because there's no standard, we will do that. And this is what we did with the reliability assessment framework. So some of you may know that under the model law for electronic transferable records, a reliable system must be used to transfer the ETR from one party to another. And that's because the ETR is a negotiable instrument. It's a document of title. So there's certain conditions which must be mimicked electronically in order to preserve that electronic record's functional equivalence to its paper record. So like a bill of lading, the EBL, right? When a bill of lading is handed from one party to another, the other party, the second party, then owns the cargo. So you need to create that uniqueness of the EBL. And so that's just, so under MLETR, it's called a reliable system. Singularity, integrity, and control. Those are the three characteristics of a reliable system. And so, you know, instead of platforms coming to you and saying, oh, we're reliable, we satisfy those three conditions, we said, okay, take this out of the case-by-case basis. Let's create an industry-wide assessment that is transparent, open to everyone, and where you validate your credential once, and then you can use it again and again and again. So it really helps organizations with their due diligence process or with their credentialing process, because all they need to do is look for the credential, and then they can see, okay, it's reliable, it's accepted. So this is what we created last year with the Digital Governance Council in Canada. They're specialists in digital trust, and they're specialists in verification and assessment. So we did this like working with platforms, working with users, and so on. This is a beta version, but you know, we plan to continue to work on it, but it's available now. We can give you the GitHub site where you can download it and just take it through your own organizations. Next slide. So now, since this is transport and shipping industries, we decided to add in this slide on EBL. So we're through the FIT Alliance, which includes these organizations on the bottom left that you see. we conduct a biannual survey of EBL adoption. The first survey was in 2022. The next survey, the most recent one, was in 2024, October. And there we found that 49.2% of the users have actually used an electronic bill of lading. Now, we're actually only surveying those in the transport, logistics, finance, you know, these 5 organizations, industries. But 49.2 is pretty high, right? That means half of the users have actually tried it. But just, you know, before you get too excited, trying an EBL once does not equate to operationalizing it across your whole system. So, you know, we went from like 33% tried it once to 49.2% tried it once or multiple times. So that's a pretty big jump in 2 years. And so I'm guessing when we do it 2 years hence, or maybe we'll even do it this year, we're going to get another big jump, because EBL case studies are going out, pilots are going out, people are getting familiar with it, and they're beginning to see that actually it is actually doable. And so we think that, you know, and also with EBL written on English law, now you have the ETDA passed, which basically legalizes the use of electronic bill of lading. And the IGP&I, the International Group of P&I Clubs, also now says that EBL is okay, so long as it is transferred on a reliable system, and that if you pass the DSI's reliable systems assessment, that's also good enough. They don't need to make their own separate case-by-case assessment. So insurance is in place, legal's in place, banks are also learning to use it. So I think EBL adoption is just such a no-brainer, and I hope the data will show this very soon. Next slide. So we've also released a lot of tools. This is also by the FIT Alliance. It's basically everything you need to know about EBL if you're like a freight forwarder or shipper or bank. So this is all free stuff. You can just download it from the FIT Alliance website. Next slide. We also created the Certificate in Digital Trade Strategy. It's a 5-hour online course. If you want your teams to get familiar with everything A to Z about digital trade, like legal issues, blockchain issues, platform issues, anything, have them take the CDTS. And we're happy actually to work with WISTA to get you a discount, because not free. We have to pay for the learning management system, but you know, we can probably give you a hefty discount. Next slide. So this is just another report we published, basically on everything good about digital trade. So you can, it's 22 case studies from the 4 parts of the supply chain: finance, shipping and logistics, commercial, and compliance. So a bunch of case studies from all over the world. Next slide. Right, so just briefly on legal, if the country is colored any shade of green, it means that it is on the way or already there with the model law on electronic transferable records. So the countries which are already aligned, they constitute 37% of global GDP. That's basically 4 big countries: US, UK, France, and Germany, and then plus about 10 other small economies, including Singapore and UAE. Those committed, which are like in the process of drafting legislation or getting buy-in or working to get themselves ready, 34% of GDP, which includes countries like China, Japan, Australia, you know, any of the DIPA, or I think Pacific Alliance also has made moves in that direction. So there's actually a fair amount of countries which are working towards that. If you're in an APEC, you're there, and so on. Which is just to say, you don't need to know the specific countries, but just to say, you know, we're at like 70% of global GDP. So that's pretty significant. So if you're not doing something today to get ready for this future, start acting today. Now, and that's where I want to turn over to my colleague Tianmi, because we're saying, okay, act, act, act. So now we have some suggestions on what you can do. So Tianmi, over to you. So we can't hear you, or I can't hear you. How are we doing here? Hello? This is good. Go ahead.
This is good. Perfect. Okay. So as Pamela mentioned, the number of jurisdictions that is either moved or is in the process of moving to the digital trade future is very encouraging. So what exactly is happening in the countries that are not on the list, as she mentioned, or not on the later tracker that have the color? Usually we're at a stalemate problem where the business is waiting for the government to move first for the legal reform, for policy signals, and for enabling environment, because you don't want to make that business transition or the process that which you're doing business until you know that for certain your legal status has changed in the country where it recognizes the legality of electronic trade record. Meanwhile, government is looking at the private sector, looking for a signal where it pushes digital trade reform to the top of its legislative agenda. It has so many priorities, but why should we focus on this now and here? So that is something that makes the country that are not on the list not moving forward or not moving forward effectively. So to that end, nothing moves, and what exactly are we waiting for? Businesses really need to have their voices heard through advocacy, especially collective advocacy. But advocacy only is effective when, hold on. Okay. Advocacy is only effective when it's strategic and also is informed. So before charging forward, take stock, map your country's policy landscape. Essentially, you're asking one question: where are the legislative gaps? So here is how. On the right-hand side, you're looking at the number of lists. Those are a preliminary number list of conventions, global agreements, or bilateral agreements where digital trade is giving some kind of attention. Just now when we mentioned Meliter is on ETRs, but there are a lot of other model laws drafted by UNCITRAL, such as electronic signature, contract that enables commerce, and then also UNESCAP has it joined the CPTA, the cross-border paperless trade agreement, also free trade agreements, and all those you can see on the list. But second category, you see a list of multilateral agreements where, well, for example, for the Digital Economy Partnership Agreement, where Singapore is a party to, also New Zealand, on there it will have a line that says a certain country or a partner is committed to 100% paperless trade by 2030. This is the line where I think it speaks to the country's commitment to our future, but it doesn't really mention anything specific. So under that, it is something where business can find their position to advance their agendas in the legislative agenda because it already has a place. For instance, Singapore has ratified their own law in alignment with this agreement. Some countries have not, but this is a rule that you can go like a golden thumb rule that you can think this is something that they have to do by 2030, and then they will probably need something in between that fills the legislative gap. So understanding the current environment helps you connect with advocacy to existing priorities, and that's often a faster route than trying to start something entirely new because you know that's already on their attention. Once you know where things to stand, you can speak with precision, and you're not just saying that we want reform, but you know exactly where we want reform and how we want it. And on here, you also see on the left-hand side is an example drafted by ICC France in collaboration with Europlus, a white paper that's produced by a task force that takes stock of what the French legislative landscape is and also look at what exactly needs to be reformed in what ways, and probably gives an estimate of the time as well as the cost. So that is the plan that could move the government forward on their legislative priorities. And second step is that you want to recognize someone in the government or identify them to lead this whole movement. When we say you have this ETRs, sometimes promissory notes fall under Ministry of Finance, and EBLs, because it's logistics, it might fall under either transportation or it might fall under maritime code. So with all the variety of documents or records, it actually falls under various ministries or departments, which means this cannot be done by one sector alone. You would need to engage, you would need to do some kind of cross-sectoral engagement. On there, you will see a list of the common comes in departments where has a specific document under its delegation that will be involved. And importantly, ports and border authorities, customs, those are the direct transition that you will see a document getting in transit. So on the left-hand side, you will see another example. ICC Morocco, which is also a national chapter under ICC Global, identified Ministry of Commerce, and then used Ministry of Commerce as a champion to lead all the relevant ministers to collectively move forward. What they do is that when you have a workshop or when you have some kind of a task force, this is who you will go to and say, okay, we're going to call into all the relevant agencies in the government, and we're going to put it together to a meeting. So all the questions that come into related to this area of law, such as ETRs, will be answered. Otherwise, you will get into a situation where saying, okay, that document is not under my jurisdiction. In China, we've seen this to spread across 8 different ministries. So it is definitely a strategic move to get everyone together, as well as you will definitely see hurdles or roadblocks if in the process of moving, you don't have all the agencies on board, or you can't have the full list of ETRs being digitalized. You will have some kind of leftover, and that would also hinder progress and efficiency. And then third, identify champions among members. This is speaking mostly towards the private sector. You will need sector representatives in our sector or industrial champions that can directly or precisely identify the pain points within the industry, like where exactly is the bottleneck, where do we need to change in the business. You speak with the daily operation knowledge and say, this is something that we're facing, and this is how we want it to be changed. And they together, hopefully in a public and private collaborative way, they form a digital trade working group. And on the left-hand side, you see again an example by ICC Qatar. Qatar, we've known that they want to do something about digital trade for a while, but exactly where does it start, and also where does it, what to prioritize? That's always a question. So ICC Qatar took under its wings a year ago. They were at stage 0 or 1, which is only familiarity with digital trade model law or the concept of it. By now, they're all at stage 6, which is actually drafting under process. The whole entire movement along the way is actually led by ICC Qatar, where they have consulted local business leaders and then gathered the government for their attention, and then formed the working group, and then now undertaken drafting as a policy suggestion or draft model law, hired local law firm to actually complete this process and compare their model law to the model law of electronic transferable record under UN CITRAL, which means that once the law is drafted, it is actually interoperable and aligns with all the principles outlined in the global framework. Lastly, individual action, where can you do if it's not a collective action? For business owners, cases really matter, success stories actually matter. Adopt ETRs in your daily operation, and then use that as a post or something that shares with the government and then speaks to represent your sector, to tell them that this is actually working, give them confidence that it is worth investing in this kind of transformation, and it does bring efficiency and does drive down cost. And also, we've listed some examples in different sectors, what you can do from logistics to freight forwarders and then to shipping. And then also really attend and be participatory in have your voices heard when the government hold consultations. Australia is a really good example. Before drafting, they made a commitment, but then they opened a second round of public consultation where they allowed the businesses and also law firms and all sort of interested groups to submit comments to make sure that wherever they're going is actually going to the right direction, that is very commercially relevant for Australia. And being able to see how they're addressing comments really gives me the confidence to see that government actually do look at these comments and really do care about where this is going. And now they're simultaneously to the drafting process, they're hosting a series of workshops where they actually talk about implementation, talk about how to enable more digital records to be used in trade along the line when the law is still finishing process. You will see this implementation at the same time when the legal status of Australia changes. So you will see this full grade of rollout and implementation, which is very exciting. Lastly, we have resources, as Emma mentioned, both online and also connect with us. DSI has all the resources available along all the steps that we have mentioned just now, both toolkits and also lessons learned from economies and jurisdictions that have done this successfully and quickly. And we stand ready to help you every step along the way. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Tianmi and Pamela, for your insightful presentation. Well, we open the session to the question. Pamela here wrote, if you are already involved in digital trade advocacy in your respective country, please indicate in the chat. We want to hear about it. I know that a part of, I didn't say, but a part of being a deputy general manager in Evergreen Shipping Agency Argentina and part of WISTA member. I am also participating in a group in Argentina. I see here that it is Maria Jose from the ICC local representative. Marina also is here. They are the head here in Argentina trying to do this in Argentina. That is maybe Marina and Maria Jose, I don't know if you want to share your experience here with the rest of the audience about Argentina's situation.
Okay, good morning to everybody. Yes, and Pamela already knows how we are working here in Argentina. We are really doing all our best efforts, both with public sector and private sector. With public sector, we are letting them know that to approve the militer or something similar to militer is the way to go through digitalization easily. So we are having meetings with customs, with the Ministry of the Regulation, with the Secretary of Commerce, and with the Central Bank. That on one hand. And on the other hand, we are trying to find out what the privates are doing. We have already found that the big companies that export commodities, they're already working with digital documents, although they have to go through paper when they leave Argentina, but they have already put into force different APIs so they can do several parts of the transaction in a digital way. I don't know if Marina wants to add something else, but that is principally what we are doing at the moment with the DSI initiative here in Argentina, which is integrated by banks, by shippers, by freight forwards, by agent of customs, and people of IT also, companies of IT, and a bit of everybody, because we know that this initiative needs of everybody.
Thank you, Maria Jose. Marina, would you like to add something more?
Hi. I think Maria Jose just told everything. We are really working a lot. We are pushing. Thank you, Pamela. Thank you, Guadalupe and Tianmi, for your support when we started. So nothing else to add, but we have a long way to go, but it's the same way that other countries are doing, but we are very positive, and our team really is tracking and pulling, and so we are really proud of the people that are working with us, and it is the moment in Argentina to keep on working. So that's fine. Nothing else to add. Thank you for everything.
I would just like to highlight that the role of the local, like what Maria Jose and Marina are doing, is really essential. because you're actually educating the government.
Yeah.
Right. So the government isn't the government civil servants aren't working in business. They don't actually see how fast technology is being implemented. And so, when we go to them and say, okay, well, this is what's happening in the rest of the world, what are we going to do about it? Then they really need to hear it again and again and again and again. Because if they just hear it once and then you go away, then they'll think, oh, I don't need to do anything about this. Now, how do we work with local chambers? Is that the local chamber knows how to get into government and how to pitch to them and which companies are going to be valuable in the pitch. Like, who do we need to have in the room so that government will listen? And the role of us at, ICC headquarters and in DSI is we have to tell them that what's happening in the world is real and that it's a matter of national competitiveness and your relevance as a trading power, that if you don't do this, you're going to fall behind and it's going to hamper the achievement of government objectives. This is not business seeking to just advocate in self-interest. By digitalization, we meet the government's own objectives about SME growth, about job creation, about poverty alleviation, and about developing an attractive location where international investment wants to go to. So when we go to government, we really have to make them see that this is their cause. And if they don't get it the first time, just keep going back. This is why I think, the initiative in Argentina is a great example. And there's also, it's happening elsewhere in Latin America and also around the world. And just going back, Lena, I know you're in Malaysia. Actually, it's being done by MDEC in Malaysia. And that's a very close collaborator of ours, because they know how to work with like the Malaysian government, which is it's a skill in any country. So they know how to get it through and make it relevant. So this is just examples of how the movement takes shape in different countries.
Yeah, indeed. If I just add in to what Pamela mentioned, that some countries they find ways of how to connect the dots, work together, and find solution for the betterment, whereby this group would find leverage instead of the otherwise looking at that government service or bodies as a form to leverage to the advantage win-win situation. Yeah.
Pamela, I have a question regarding this issue, this topic that we are talking about, the government and the importance to a right approach to the government. Who is the digital champion government in this regard? You understand? Who is doing the things in the right way and how they can catalyze this good performance in a systemic way?
So we have not found any country where the change doesn't involve the Ministry of Commerce or Trade. Now, very frequently, the bigger advocate will be Ministry of Finance and the central bank, because, central bank, they're under a different kind of competition because they have payments directive, which comes from FSB. And they're told, okay, you got to reduce cross-border payment time, settlement time from 2 days to 45 minutes. And so they're technology first. So they're very pro-technology, and the Bill of Exchange, promissory note, they see it really clearly. But when we say, oh, then you need to adopt the model law on electronic transferable records, they say, but it's not our responsibility. So we have to go to commerce. Now, commerce, they're in a multilateral world, right? So they're not really used to seeing things which are not related to the WTO and not related to free trade, right? That's their world, WTO stuff and free trade agreements. So this is kind of falling through the cracks. Now, we need to educate the Ministry of Commerce that this is in their future interests, and the world is shifting to where digital trade is a competitive advantage. So, for example, one thing that we did in a very small economy, Hong Kong, where the central bank was very pro and the trade team was very stuck in multilateral world and free trade world. So we actually had the government, the monetary authority, go be our advocate internally and get them on board. The HKMA own researchers did research on the potential advantage to Hong Kong on saving time and money, right? So their own research team did that analysis, and they did it because of trade finance. So that's their inroad. We also pitched the ministry, the Secretary of Justice, because they've usually got an existing relationship with the UN Commission on International Trade. So they know the importance of model laws. They get it about interoperability of governance frameworks and so on. So you basically have to go and, I guess, do your background work on who within government is likely to be your ally. Now, another thing is that if someone comes from business, like if they're drafted from a bank to go be the Minister of Finance, right? Great ally potential, because they came from real operational world. And so for sure, they can see what's happening in industry. We found that Ministry of Digitalization is very frequently concerned with e-government and citizens, citizen issue digitalization. So, you know, it's rarer that they will actually want to be the lead agency, but, you know, it can happen. They're always involved. You need to keep them informed, but, you know, start with commerce, involve the central bank, involve finance, because finance sits over customs, right? Because until now, customs is like source of revenue. So basically the message is you have to involve everybody. And customs will also be your ally.
Yes, yes, it's not so easy. It's not an easy task. A huge challenge. Marina is raising her hand. Marina,
Following what Pamela has just said, if we have to put it in words, what we've been doing in Argentina is pitching all the members as Maria Jose told us. We went and you know, we started pitching and introducing, but now what we are working on or trying to do, and that's the thing that we are going to do with customs in 2 weeks time nearly, it's working meetings. So we are going to sit more time and start to find connecting lines. So that is our second round, let's say. At the very beginning was introducing all this thing and trying to find the champion, which we somehow found it, but not that much. We have to, you know, put more strength on that in order to go behind that champion that will pull all this project within. But it's good news for us that at least we are starting this working meeting with customs in 2 weeks time, and so okay, let's see if we can move a little bit forward. You know, this is little by little, and so well. Then let's hope next time we see each other again, we might have more good news to share, you know.
yes, thank you, Marina. Another issue is regarding industry collaboration, for instance, because this also demand a lot of collaboration, not only a result from government, but also within an industry and other stakeholders. What is the role of, well, we are more connected, WISTA, with logistic and trade. What is the role of the freight forwarders and the customers, the manufacturers in piloting digital trade corridors?
Yeah, so you basically need all of the key players to be within one initiative. And if you have a digital trade working group, you literally want to tick off the sectors. It's very interesting. When we did the EBL survey, we actually broke it down into sectors and like who is the most deepest adopters and who is still in single digits. And actually, obviously the shippers, right, the carriers, because there's only 9 of them, right, 10 of them. So they're huge, they have resources, they've all realized scale efficiency, so they're number 1. Then we actually went down, and at the bottom of the list, the lowest adopter is freight forwarder. Because freight forwarders are small, they have no resources, they're very labor intensive, and they don't make any decisions about what methodology to use. All the decisions made by someone else, and all they're told is go do this from point A to point B. And so in order to combat that, and if you go to banks, banks will tell you the same thing. We do not decide. It's the customer who decides. So that's why in any digital trade working group, you need to pull in the manufacturers and the buyers, because even the manufacturers will tell you, yes, but we don't decide who to ship with. We don't decide the modality. We don't decide the trade platform. We don't decide the pace of change. It's all by the buyer, right? Unless you're Vale or Rio Tinto, in which case the supplier decides, but then, you know, there's, in most cases, it's actually the buyer, the brand. And so we need to get the brand, we need to get the shippers and the banks, because all the parties need to be on board. And that's why when you go into our industry advisory board, why do we have companies from all over the place, right? We need to make sure that decisions within the IAB can actually be implemented. And I would, you know, if you're going to set up like a mini digital trade working group within WISTA, you need to reach out to the other parts of the supply chain, because, you know, only transport and logistics can't make all the decisions for yourself. It's just like in your own business, right? Can Evergreen make a decision over what EBL to use? No, you have to consult with like your left hand, your supplier and your buyer and everyone else, and everyone needs to say, okay, now we are ready to do this. So it's kind of the same thing. And then that's why the government also needs to hear it from the variety of players, because if only, you know, if only transport comes to them and said, hey, we really want to use EBL, the government's going to be like, okay, put that as priority number 85, right? But if like banks and manufacturers and all the buyers come to them and say, hey, we want to do this, and here are all the documents that we could do, and here are the gains that we could make on the supply chain, like in terms of jobs created and so on, you know, it's a different message. It's not, let me do this because I want to make more profit. It's, let's do this because it's the future. So something like that. It's like the right message.
Sure. I agree totally with you. It's a matter of inclusion and work together for a better future, not just because of an economic purpose. I don't know if anyone have. I didn't see our audience today is quite shy. They didn't bring many questions. Thanks that I have prepared some additional questions to this webinar.
Why don't we, Guadalupe? Why don't you call on someone who's online and ask them what they think?
Yes, it will be. I don't know if they are going to hate me, Pamela. Maybe. Later, I will be called and said, "Oh, what did you do?" But well, anyone that if it is welcome to share any idea and questions, of course, is very welcome. But for instance, how can business can be, because talking about trust across the supply chain, how can we build it the trust across the supply chain? Using, in this case, well, the MLHER reliability assessment.
So the thing about trust is that it's all about the data. And so today, if you and your company receive data via blockchain from your business partner, you know right away that that can be trusted, right? You can just run with it. You don't need to go into documentary checks and so on. And if you receive something by email, unsecured, you'll just need to check it, right? So trust is about establishing the conditions that can be satisfied by technology that will enable you to run with it, run with the data, and begin actioning it immediately. And all the reliability assessment does is it credentials platforms and companies that have the ability to do that with electronic transferable records. It's a very basic assessment, right? It's just testing, is the record preserved in one record? Like you can tell whether it's the original. Just like a bill of lading, you know that it's the original because it got all the endorsements, right? And so you know that, okay, now I'm able to transfer this. Integrity, all the changes have been marked. All the endorsements are marked. And security, and so singularity, integrity, and control, and that the bill of lading has only been in the hands of one person at a time, right? There's no, two people can own the BFL. It's not possible. So yeah, that's all it does. But our vision is where there are standards for trust, and that if you send data, there are certain standards that need to be maintained. I see Elizabeth has her hand up.
Good. Well, I'm in the morning. So we're a freight forwarder. Okay. So small potatoes. So, but what you're saying is it has to almost come from multiple fronts, right? Because when we're doing something like this, we say we deal with Pakistan. And when we're looking to get something in, it's really their government, right? That's going to be sending to the bank controls it and going to be sending to us. So it's more of a government push in terms of their commerce and your ICC. And then you're saying to get the actual buyers involved because the supplier really doesn't have so much as a say, right? It's whatever the buyers want. So in terms of it's going to be an all-out front that you're looking for between the government and the commerce within that government, and then also the buyers, because like a lobbying group almost really to get this thing moving. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's absolutely the case. Of course, different industries work in different ways. Some industries already have their own digitalized platform, and there we go direct to the platform and figure out how do we work with them. But yeah, in a lot of cases, the multinational supply chain, multinational supply chains account for what, 2/3 of global trade, right? Literally 2/3 of global trade take place in multinational supply chains. So the decision makers, more often than not the buyers, they have huge power. And so we really need to go and get them on board. And we're doing that. It's a slow slog because a lot of multinationals have already digitalized and they've already chosen their platform. And so we need to make the case to them that they will have more to gain by going interoperable than by staying closed. It's not an easy case to make, but we have to make it, because if you're a supplier and you have 20 customers and each of them wants a different platform and different data and different cadence for information, you die from the complexity.
So would this be more of a government issue, like a lobbying of the government, where it would have to be one sort of platform, right? Where it would be like a controlled situation, because then it would be, since it's a security issue as well, right? Because you're dealing with the signatures on the bill lading. So it would be a security issue. And then that would be a customs issue, which therefore would be a government issue. So it would almost be like a lobbying issue that we're trying to create to make the change.
So the thing is with, we have not advocated for government platforms to do everything, because government changes very slowly and technology changes very quickly. And the minute you have the government running such a central thing as a platform, people are worried about what happens to my data and what if it changes and so on. And so
It wouldn't be the government running it. It would still be the private, but it would be
Right.
like
So
the government sort of putting it in as a I'm sorry, I'm only a half a coffee in. Like where it would be not a law, but where it would be this is for this type of transaction, this would be the
right.
digitalization that you would need to use.
So that's the model law on electronic transferable records, right? So we're suggesting if you want to digitalize, we're suggesting going direct to the government saying, please support digitalization by making it legal for us to use digital documentation and to get behind the conditions which must be present in order to legally use these documentation. That is exactly the purpose of the model law on electronic transferable records. And that was the same purpose as the model law on electronic signatures, right? Electronic signatures rely on public key infrastructure. And there's specific conditions under which you can trust with court backing the electronic signature, like DocuSign or so on. The government doesn't need to say, okay, go use DocuSign, but they need to set the conditions. And then the market needs to decide, do I want to use DocuSign or some other platform? You can just, everyone should be free
so
to use their own platform.
Still be a free market, but they set a standard of it's okay, because like I said, it would be amazing if it was all digital type, because it takes if something gets lost in the mail, I'm waiting for originals from a bank in Pakistan to come into my office. Then I have to also send those out because I have to send them to the vessel. Right. So it's a time waster. And also, how about if the bank makes a mistake, which happens? So they don't send all, or someone in my office does something, it's human error. So to be digitalized saves time and money, which time is money in this industry.
Yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right. So that's what we're advocating for. But government, so regulation is a necessity, but it is not sufficient because remember, 2/3 of the key trade documents are actually transacted between private sector. So we want standards interoperability for those as well. That's what makes this critically a public-private issue. And I see Lauren has put in the chat the UCC amendments, and you're absolutely right. And the thing is, we need to go out to business to let them know, here are the 27 states, 28 now, which have adopted them, and so on.
Well, thank you very much. Marina, I don't know, you raise your hand also. We are running out of time, but do you want to add something?
No, same, related to the same subject. When we tackled the first time customs in Argentina, they knew that MLTR is important, but at the same time they say, okay, now when EBLs pass through customs, how do we tackle what platform? How do we do that? That is the question. And they wanted to know what other customs around the world are doing. So if somehow we can get that information or learn, or maybe through WCO, we learn what other customs are doing, how are they reading digital, all these documents, it will help us a lot when we tackle our customs as well, because it's always the same. Despite the private sector will be working on interoperable documents, whatever platform they use, or APIs or blockchain, then it's the customs that need to have a kind of infrastructure, and they don't know where to start with or where to look for and what to require for the rest. I mean, how the documents should pass through them. So that is an issue that we haven't find the solution yet, and it's a question that arises all the time whenever we tackle them.
Yeah, so you're, again, a really relevant issue. So what we know, and we're working very closely with the WCO, with their data model, and in updating the data model, and in having the WCO actually work with its members to upgrade the single window. What I know is that often the single window is it faces so much pressure because they need to run by efficiency, and yet their infrastructure is usually really bad, because most single windows were planned in 2015 and 16 when the trade facilitation agreement was signed. There are networks within WCO, and also, for example, in Latin America, the IADB, the Inter-American Development Bank, funds the Red Vuce network, which is a network of Latin American and Caribbean single windows. So we work through those existing networks, but yeah, it's a long, long road ahead.
Well, but something is doing. At least we are in the progress.
Yeah.
Well, we run out of time. We run out of time. Thank you, Pamela and Tianmi, for your insightful presentations and for sharing your experience with us today. Really, the work that you are doing at the Digital Standards Initiative is not only shaping the future of global trade, but also setting a powerful example of leadership in action. As we've seen, the digital transformation of maritime trade and logistics is not just a technological shift, it's a cultural and a strategic one. It requires collaboration, as we talk, standardization, and above all, inclusion. And I think that that's where WISTA plays a vital role, ensuring that women are not only part of the conversation, but leading it. I also
I'm sorry to
yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but is there a way that we could circle back to this, like have this where it's a quarterly or something where we know where we are?
Yes, don't worry, Elizabeth. We are going to send to those who registered the link for the review of this presentation.
No, I appreciate that, but I mean, like, are we able to do this again? Where
Pamela, we
stay in
are
touch, where we know what's happening.
Well, we can discuss later with Pamela and her team, and see if we can do it.
We can also send you others. So you don't have to hear me again, but we'll send you good people from our network who can address the different aspects, like customs or like banks or whatever.
I think you're fabulous, Pamela. I like listening to you. Your voice is very soothing so far this morning.
Well, you just need another cup of coffee.
Thank you, ladies.
Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you.
And well, I also like to thank our audience, of course, for your participation. We hope this session has sparked new ideas and inspired for engaging further with the digital evolution of our industry. Okay, well, let's continue to support one another, share knowledge, and build a more connected, inclusive, and innovative maritime future. Thank you again. And well, ladies, we look forward to see you in the next WISTA Technology Committee event. Thank you very much.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you.
On behalf of WISTA International, I would like to thank you, all of you, Pamela and Tianmi and Marina, Maria Jose, and all the WISTA Technology team. This has been very, very insightful. I'm very pleased to see so knowledgeable ladies leading this case, spearheading this initiative. So thank you very much for cooperation with WISTA. As Guadalupe said, this is really the inclusion and the purpose of WISTA as well. So thank you very much for participating and cooperating with us. And we look forward to cooperating with you as well. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe just 2 minutes from my end, from the chairperson, the committee, technology committee, and then just to add on to Daphne as well, that our distinguished speakers, Pamela Ma and also Tianmi Stilphen. We encourage all of you to connect with the both of them through WISTA International LinkedIn page. You can find their profile, and please do not hesitate to share your views on meaningful exchanges from women to women. And change often brings with just simple conversation. And also at WISTA, we remain committed to creating this space where dialogue becomes action and women leads with purpose in maritime and technology. And once again, thank you everyone for being with us today. And till next time, stay inspired, connected, and keep everyone forward moving together. And if I can request for a photo together, maybe unshare the screen, Guadalupe. And then
Okay, I
we take
stop
one screen.
sharing. Okay. Let's show all the screens.
Yeah, and if our friends if they are okay to share the screen, and we can have one nice photo together, and we can put that. Yeah. How many of us here? 3, 2, 1. Smile. All right.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Bye. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.